Well, that's a novel experience, climbing up into an HSV. But because there's no more Aussie-made Commodore V8s for HSV to play with, they've got to find other product to attach their very prestigious badge to. Now, they've got a couple of interesting projects on the boil. For a start, they're doing the right-hand drive conversions, or remanufacture as they call it, of both the Chevy Silverado and the Chevy Camaro. So those two vehicles will be on Australasian roads in the latter half of 2018. And the other thing they're doing is this, the HSV Colorado SportsCat Plus, and its slightly lesser brother, the HSV Colorado SportsCat No Plus. What is it? Well, essentially, it's a Holden Colorado Z71 spec with an extra $20,000 on the asking price. That's a lot of extra moolah, and frankly, I want HSV to show me the money. So what do you get for your $20,000 over and above your Colorado Z71? Well, starting at the front, you get a unique HSV nose treatment. New grille, which looks really good, 3D kind of honeycomb look. In the middle of that grille, of course, you get the HSV badge, the lion and the racing helmet. That's where a little bit of a disconnect starts to come in, because you don't often have sort of visions of double cab utes and crash helmets in your mind at the same time, I've generally found. After the grille, you get a unique front lower valance and bumper and bash plate, which looks, again, really good. There's two tow hooks sticking out through the middle of that valance, and they are connected to another HSV piece of engineering, which is a big bar that goes across the back. So when you pull on those tow hooks, they don't just come flying out of the bumper. Coming further back down the car, you get, unfortunately, on the SportsCat Plus, this big black kind of dish rack on the bonnet that looks like a power bulge, or looks like an air scoop, or looks like something functional, but alas, it is not. It's completely fake, and I hate that. It looks kind of cool, but it isn't kind of cool once you know it doesn't do anything. You also get 18-inch by 10-inch wide wheels and unique Cooper tyres that have been specially developed for HSV. And those tyres are said to be good on-road and off-road, which of course is what all tyre manufacturers say for double cab utes that have a smattering of off-road usage but are mainly on-road. You've got side steps, a sport bar on the back, tonneau cover. It's a hard lid tonneau cover that takes its inspiration from wakeboarding boats. I don't know, but anyway, that's what they say in the brochure. It does unlock with the rest of the doors and lock with the rest of the doors, which is like hugely leading edge high tech in this ute market, because most of those hard lids have a separate barrel key that you have to fumble around and lock and unlock it with. And it also has a hydraulic gas strut on the tailgate. So when you drop the tailgate, it doesn't crash down like so many of these things do. It's a real heavy bastard to lift back up, I gotta say. But on the way down, at least, it's got an air of sophistication about it because of that gas strut. Inside is a nice black plastic tub liner, and this one comes with a Loadmaster divider thing. Also in the tub is the roof rack rails, which mirror the roof rack rails that are mounted on the top of the tonneau. So your accessory roof racks can be mounted either to the tonneau cover, or if you and a couple of mates decide to take the tonneau cover off, you can also adjust the feet to fit on the tub itself. So you've got two options for mounting, mountain bikes and things like that on the back. So a lot of extra practicality and thought and care has gone into the engineering of accessories and just the user-friendly features of the rear half of the Colorado. So that's a really good move by HSV. Thank you, really appreciate those things. It rides a bit higher than a standard Z71 Colorado. It's an extra 25 millimeters up on the front and 20 millimeters at the back. So they've kind of brought the back down a bit relative to the front. Inside the cabin, they've flossied it up a bit. You've got a nice soft touch dashboard here with a couple of different textures, some suede that matches the suede on the seats and the leather on the seats, red stitching around the steering wheel, on the door cards as well. The seats have been rebuilt in terms of their padding and bolstering, and they are certainly superior to the standard Colorado seats. They grip you much more confidently and hold you in corners. They've got a far solider feel to them, so they do provide better accommodation over long distances. But otherwise, you've got your basic Colorado in here, and when I say basic, I mean Billy basic. It's all hard plastics, very functional, very utilitarian. It doesn't feel like 85 grand on the inside. Engineering wise, HSV have done quite a bit of enhancement. Brakes on the front, AP Racing forged 4-piston caliper brakes. That's heavy duty stuff, and they're gripping large, much larger than standard 362mm diameter discs. There's also a larger brake master cylinder on the SportsCat as well. Out the back, still the same modest drums. Suspension changes, well, most of them have happened up front, where you've got stiffer springs, strut braces and MTV dampers. Out the back there's an anti-roll bar which decouples in low range four-wheel drive to allow extra wheel articulation over undulating ground, but on the road helps keep the car flatter and more stable through corners. They've also increased the track of the vehicle, particularly at the front. It's wider at the front and wider at the back. And of course, there's a couple of things that haven't changed at all from the Z71 Holden Colorado. The engine and the gearbox. It's still the same 4-cylinder Duramax turbo diesel engine, 147 kilowatts and 500 newton meters. And it's still the old 6-speed automatic transmission. That's disappointing, because this ute does look the beans. It just looks great, particularly those castellated wheel arch flares. They look really mean. The big wheels, the big tires, yeah, it does look the business. But unfortunately, it just doesn't go the business. The romance of the HSV and the badge with the racing helmet is all gone as soon as you turn the key and you hear that clattery old diesel start up. I just wish it was faster and louder, or made a different sort of noise. It doesn't have to be louder, but the noise that it does make should be less agricultural, because it's still very agricultural. Now, an unfortunate side effect of the increase in the tyre and wheel dimensions is that what was already a pretty piss poor turning circle in the Colorado has become a completely one in the SportsCat. It is a real mission to turn this thing around in anything smaller than the South Island, really. The other thing that's irritated a bit is the rolling circumference of the tyres is now greater than it was on the standard Z71. Now that's had a couple of impacts. The speedo is slightly out. I've timed it across a measured kilometre. At 100 kilometres an hour indicated, it's actually doing 104 kilometres an hour according to the Speedmaster. And the other thing that rolling circumference of those tyres have made a difference to, of course, is the actual physical gearing of the car. 100 kilometres an hour, for instance, in 6th gear, has the engine working at a rev range which is not comfortable. It feels too slow, it's spinning too slowly, so that the gearing is a little bit too tall in 6th at 100. But then put it back to 5th, and it's too short a gearing. The revs are too high. So somewhere between 5th and 6th is what I would think would be the ideal cruising gearing for 100 kilometres an hour. It's certainly no spring chicken when it jumps out of the starting blocks off the line, and overtaking manoeuvres, yeah, as pedestrian as you'd expect a regular diesel Colorado to be, because that's what it is, a regular diesel Colorado. This vehicle's saving grace is the way it just goes round corners. It's unexpectedly good, frankly. For something that's this high up off the ground, this heavy, and this diesel, it doesn't have any right to go around corners as well as it does. But it does. It's got far more bite on initial turn-in. It holds a line much better. You can feel far more confident in it tracking round a particular radius, and it corners more flatly than a standard Z71. So, what do we think, in summary, of the SportsCat Plus? Well, I guess HSV has stuck to its knitting. They know how to hot rod vehicles to make them look better, make them go around corners better, but they also know how to make them go faster, and they haven't done that in the SportsCat Plus, and that's my one main regret, I guess, is the car doesn't sound and doesn't drive like I expect an HSV to. Even if it had another 15 or 20 kilowatts or a little bit more torque, over and above the standard Z71, then I can start to justify the fact that, hey, I'm going for the HSV, I'm going for the hot one. You know, because we expect an HSV, frankly, to be faster, to be noisier, to go around corners better, to brake better. And this does brake better, it does go around corners better, but it's no faster and it doesn't sound any better. So it's kind of 50% there. I find a little bit of a disconnect with this badge being on this box, but I do appreciate the work they've done. I've certainly found it a better drive overall than the Colorado is. I just wish it had more power, more sort of appealing exhaust note, and yeah, more traditional HSV-ness.